I have an update on the fourth stimulus check arrival timeline. And yes, this is a more specific timeline than what we discussed in yesterday's video. So with that being said, let's get into it. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't done so, or if you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button right down below the video. Join the community with the other hundreds of thousands of people who are already here, and subscribing is our favorite price. Free. Yes. So thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate it. And let's talk through this. So if you happen to see my video from yesterday, I talked about these two windows in which we could see these next two packages actually passed and turned into law. Well, in that video, I also gave these windows, but I didn't specifically say, hey, when would we actually see the delivery of a fourth stimulus check if the packages are actually passed within these windows? So I want to lay out some more specific dates. Now, of course, before we get into it, I just need to say, as of right now, a fourth stimulus check is not technically included into the package. However, am I scared? No, I'm not worried about it one bit. Here's why. I've said this before, but I need to say it again. The second stimulus check, the $600 stimulus check, remember that one? That was not even added into the package literally until days before it was signed into law. So here's the thing. They have not even started the negotiations on the American Families Plan, and that is the package where we expect them to add a fourth stimulus check and possibly even monthly recurring payments. So the fact that it's not in there in the original framework, I'm honestly not worried one bit, because I expect them to add it in there when they start negotiating it out. So I'm not worried one bit, and I do expect them to add it. So with that being said, I just had to be totally clear and transparent with where we stand as of right now. All right, so let's talk through this more specific timeline. So like I said in yesterday's video, these two windows that I'm looking at range between July 9th and August 9th for window number one, where we could see these packages actually passed and turned into law. Now, this is a 4-week period. It's a 1-month period, July 9th through August 9th, before they leave on their 4-week summer recess, basically through the entire month of August and into September. The second window that I'm looking at is anytime the second week of September when they arrive back from their recess. Basically the second week of September and then extending through the rest of the month, okay? So those are the windows. Okay, good. But give us more specifics on when we could actually see a fourth stimulus check arrive into our bank accounts or in our mailbox if it's actually added into the packages. Good question. Let's lay this out a little bit further. But to better understand this, the best thing we can do is look back into history and see the distribution of the last 3 stimulus checks so we can better understand how quickly can they actually get these things out the door. Let's run through this quickly. I promise I'll make it quick. But we always need to look at history. History is a really good indication of what's to come in the future. History tends to repeat itself. We see it time and time again with so many different things. So let's run through this. Stimulus package number 1, way back in early 2020, was signed into law on March 27th. The first round of stimulus checks, the $1,200, was actually first distributed on April 15th, which was about 2.5 weeks later. That was the first wave of major deposits that went out. So about 2.5 weeks for them to get them worked up and actually sent out, the first wave, okay? And then, of course, we know that there was a lot of payments that went out after that, but the first big initial wave was about 2.5 weeks later on April 15th. All right, stimulus check number 2. It was signed into law. Remember that? There was a lot of drama around this whole thing. Yeah, it was a lot of back and forth. It was kind of exciting at that time because we never knew what was going to happen, and then it actually happened, right? So it was kind of exciting time, but also kind of stressful at the same time. But here's the thing. It was signed into law late in the evening of Sunday, December 27th. Here's what's interesting about it. 2 days later, the night of December 29th, it was a Tuesday, payments starting hitting accounts. Yes, this is true. 2 days later, they were already hitting accounts. There were a bunch of payments that went out 2 days later. Here's the thing. Do you remember this? At the time, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin was out on Twitter, made a statement and said, hey, payments will start hitting accounts tomorrow. And he was right on. Yes, it was only 2 days. However, The major big wave of payments actually went out about a week and a day later on January 4th. So yes, it took about 1 week. We're going to call it 1 week on stimulus check number 2, simply because the biggest wave actually did go out on January 4th. Okay, so we're going to say 1 week. A week and a day. To be fair, we're going to say a week and a day for stimulus check number 2. Okay, January 4th. It was signed into law December 27th. The first big wave, January 4th. Okay, got it. A week and a day. All right, stimulus check number 3. This was signed into law on March 11th, 2021. The first big wave of payments actually did go out on Wednesday, March 17th. That was the first big wave. So we're going to call it 1 week, okay? We're going to give it a week from the time it was signed into law until the time it was actually, the first wave actually went out. So to be totally fair, it was 6 days, not even a full week, but we'll just say, a week again. So the stimulus check number 2 and stimulus check number 3 both went out the first big wave within the first 1 week after signing into law. Now remember again, stimulus check number 3, there was a ton of drama about this because we didn't know what was going on. There were tons of people that got their payment 1 week later, and then we said, hey, what about Social Security, SSDI, survivors, SSI, VA, RRB beneficiaries, and the non-filers? Remember that? Man, what a mess that was. We all remember that. That was a little bit traumatizing, to be honest with you, because a lot of us didn't know what was going on. There were some people in these categories that actually got their payments right away, and then, of course, there were a lot of us, the vast majority of people in these categories who did not get a payment. Remember that? Well, then we were trying to figure out, hey, what's actually going on for all these Social Security beneficiaries? Well, then it turned out that the Social Security Administration didn't actually send the information over until like the end of March. Remember all that? So then officially, Social Security, SSDI, SSI, survivors, VA, RRB, all these beneficiaries, most of them got their payments on April 7th, okay? So remember that? So let's just say this. Based on history, the first 3 stimulus checks, the first one went out 2.5 weeks later, the second one a week later, and the third one a week later. We're just basing that off of the first big waves that went out. Okay, with that being said, let's look into these 2 windows that I laid out in yesterday's video and that I mentioned just a couple minutes ago as far as when these packages could actually be passed, turned into law, and if they actually do contain that 4th stimulus check, when could we see a payment actually arriving? Good question. So, this first window, July 9th through August 9th, we could see them pass the packages anytime within this window. Like I said in yesterday's video, honestly, I would tend to think it's probably going to be more toward the end of the window, probably like that first week of August. If they actually get it done during this window, it's probably going to be that first week of August. Because again, looking back in history, we see how they do this every single time. They usually wait until literally the very last day to get things done, and then they get it done. And sometimes they even go past the deadline and then they get it done a few days later, right? We've seen it happen over the last 12 months now. It's happened many times, and I anticipate it's probably going to happen again. So let's just anticipate it's signed and into law the first week of August. Let's just say August 7th. Just August 7th. I'm just kind of throwing out a date. August 7th, the end of the first week in August, okay? So based on history, as far as the distribution of the stimulus checks, we could potentially see the first wave start to go out sometime about a week later, around August 14th-ish, right? Give or take a couple days, August 14th, but then it could extend anywhere between 1 to 2.5 weeks thereabout. So we could be looking anywhere between like August 14th all the way out to probably anywhere between like August 25th-ish, around there. So anywhere between that window, provided a couple other things happen. They actually pass these 2 packages into law, and it does contain a 4th stimulus check, okay? All right, so that's window number 1, and that's kind of the window that we're looking at as far as potential distribution of a 4th stimulus check, provided it's passed within that first window. August 14th through probably anywhere between August 25th, kind of that whole, 11 or so day window, thereabout, Well, yeah, about there. Basically, anywhere between August 14th and extending through the end of the month is probably more realistic. All right, let's look at the next window. Next window being, let's just call it, well, it's the second week of September. So after Labor Day when they arrive back. So when they arrive back after Labor Day, they'll be potentially working on this again if they don't get it done before their summer recess. Well, then again, let's just say first thing back when they arrive back, which honestly, I highly doubt that this would even happen as far as them coming back into town and saying, oh, first thing we're going to do is pass this package. I don't think it's going to work that way. If they don't get it done before their summer recess, they're probably going to spend some more time talking through it, hashing out all the details after they arrive back after their summer recess. But let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't know why, but let's just give them the benefit of the doubt, right? So let's just say they get it done right after they get back after Labor Day. That would put us with a window of a distribution time, right, for the fourth stimulus check, provided it's in the package, of anywhere between, again, let's just say, I'm just kind of running the numbers, September, I'm going to say like September 18th, probably through the end of the month again. Basically like September 18th or so through the end of the month is basically when we could see that next wave go out, provided it's in the package. So yes, these are the two windows, provided a fourth stimulus check is actually in there. But again, I'm not really worried about it because they have a tendency to add things in last minute. And we know right now that Bernie Sanders is working on that $6 trillion budget reconciliation bill and proposal, right? So with that being said, that's a lot of money. They have a lot of money allocated right there for these next two packages, which we know only contain about $4.1 trillion of spending, therefore leaving us about $1.9 trillion of leeway where we can kind of add in some other goodies like a fourth stimulus check, right? So these are the kind of the windows that I'm looking at. But like I said earlier, please, no promises. I'm just throwing this out there based on what we know, based on the calendars, based on the schedules for the lawmakers, the House of Representatives, and the Senate, based on history, looking back in history on the distribution of the last three stimulus checks, and just kind of looking back at how they kind of do things, right? They run everything down to the last minute, and then they kind of get things done maybe at the very last minute, or they need to extend. One other thing we need to look at, too, we need to take this into consideration, is the actual, the budget or the fiscal year ends the end of September. So the new fiscal year starts October 1st. Well, that's probably another issue that they're going to have to wrestle around with in the end of September, as they do every year, right? So this is something else that they maybe want to, get these packages done and over with so that they can start negotiating out the details of the next fiscal package and fiscal year budget, stuff like that. Because again, as they do every year, they run it down to the very last minute, and then they need to do these stopgap bills so that the government continues to operate without being actually shut down, right? We saw that happen 3 times last year, 2 times, something like that. They had to continue extending out and out with these stopgap bills. Otherwise, the government would have gone into a shutdown. So yeah, they have a lot on their plate right now. They have a lot going on. They need to do one thing at a time. And as of right now, their top priority is getting these next 2 packages done, right? Getting them pushed through, getting them passed, and everything like that. So I hope this gives you a more specific timeline as far as the windows we're looking at and potentially even distribution of stimulus checks, okay? I hope I've made it very clear the windows, and please, no promises. I have no clue what the future holds. I don't have a crystal ball, even though I wish I did. I wish I had one, but I don't have one quite yet. Let me know if you have any idea where I can buy one. Let me know. I would love to buy one. Give it a little rub and see what the old genie pops out and tells me. Or maybe that's a lamp. Never mind. If you find a magic lamp or you know where I can get a crystal ball, let me know. I will buy one. Okay? So, thanks again, everybody. I truly appreciate it. Just remember, I'm here to help you. I'm here to lay everything out in clear terms and to do whatever I can to keep you updated and just be here as your daily advocate. So if you haven't done so, make sure to hit the subscribe button right down below the video. And of course, go back and check out my video from yesterday that I laid out the timelines and some other information, as well as share the videos with your friends, family, and social media. Thanks again.